Welcome to the Green Wave Coaches Show with Gallatin football head coach Michael Stroup and Gallatin News sports editor Blaine Kellar. The Green Wave Coaches Show is brought to you by Tennessee Ace Hardware. Football season is grilling season. Stop by Tennessee Ace Hardware today and check out our large selection of Big Green Egg grills. The Larry Maynard Agency. Give Allstate agent Larry Maynard a call today for all your insurance needs. Macon Bank and Trust. For over 100 years, Macon Bank and Trust has offered a true hometown banking experience to help you meet your financial goals. Dairy Berries Heat and Air. Dairy Berries has been voted Sumner County's best heat and air for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, give us a call today. And the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Now, here are Coach Michael Stroup and Blaine Kellar.
Back in for another edition of the Green Wave Coaches Show. Sumner County Sports Editor Blaine Kellar, as always, joined by Gallatin football coach Michael Stroup. Coach, so just kind of jumping into it here, it's always better talking to you and talking about your team after a win as opposed to a loss. And you guys got a big one at Dickson County on Friday night, 48-14. On your end, to start off, just talk about how much nicer it is going into that next week with a win as opposed to a loss.
Well, I think everybody likes going into the next week with a win. So yeah, it feels good to get a W underneath your belt, moving on to the next week. Yep.
Well, coming off of a game against Mount Juliet that you guys held tough with the Golden Bears within that region contest. It was a much-needed win before you head back into that region play. And there were a few miscues in that game, in the Dickson County game, but you guys were able to overcome them. Kind of jumping right into it, Jackson Stroup throws a pick six on the opening drive for Gallatin, and then it's a snap later, a lost fumble goes in favor of the Cougars, and quickly it seems like Dickson County would have momentum, but you guys were kind of able to overcome that. Can you talk about what you were able to do on that end to kind of settle in on the road?
I think offensively we were, obviously the first mishap on the interception was just a bad decision on the quarterback's part. And then the second series we go back out and they had simulated our snap count, and so the center heard it and he snaps the ball. So we had that kind of we had to explain that to the officiating crew, and they got a hold of that and fixed that. But defense was the big part. They were able to after that fumble, they held them to a field goal, and of course they missed a field goal. So, but after that we settled in and got into a rhythm, and kids played well.
Yeah, how much of a need was it to maybe see your defense really win you a game, so to speak? It's hard to say win a game in the first quarter there, but when you have a couple of misfires on offense, and you need your defense to bear down like it did. How nice was that to see maybe going into region play once again? No,
it's great for the defense to go out there and put on a performance like they did. We were able to, hold them out until, in the beginning of the third quarter from scoring. I wasn't really pleased with how we came out and had our mindset then, but we talked about it and the kids finished it out. But yeah, it's good to get those kids some confidence, and they had a good week of practice last week. So we just got to build on it this week and get better from. We still make mistakes. You leave a game like that, and you watch film, and it wasn't as good as you thought it was, but it's. Sometimes it's not as bad as you think it is either. So those kids did a really good job. Coach Clemens did a really good job. Defensive staff did a good job putting a game plan together. So, we got to do it again this week.
We're going to touch on the defense a little later in today's show, but really wanted to touch a little bit more on the offense. I think I'm a little bit more of an offensive guy, which is why I ask so many offensive questions.
You're an offensive guy?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a football coach, so I don't know. I just like –
You don't strike me as an offensive guy.
I strike you as a defensive guy?
100%.
I like a 47-33 shootout as opposed to a 7-6 win. What can I say? But I wanted to talk a little bit about that first drive, that interception from Jackson. Not necessarily something he's done a lot this year through the first 4 games. You count that 2-point try against Mount Juliet maybe as his first pick of the year, but he hasn't made a ton of mistakes that turn into turnovers at that quarterback spot. And when we talk about your connection with him, father-son, does that come through maybe some of the other guys that he's learned from, maybe not trying to thread the needle on passes or things like that?
Well, I think I think if you're going to be a good quarterback, you got to be confident in your abilities and in your talents. But you also got to be really good decision maker as well. That's probably the most important thing, is to be a good decision maker. And so far, when quarterbacks don't turn the ball over, they make really good decisions. And he's made good decisions. He just, he didn't on that one play, and he knows. I mean, he understands. He knew coming to the sideline the conversation piece was going to be, and he just, and he just looked at me and said, "It's going to be fine. It's going to be okay." And he kind of calmed me down a little bit, and so But you got to have faith in your quarterback. I don't care who he is. You got to have faith in him. He's going to lead the troops and make the right decisions for you. So that's what we did.
Well, Jackson did settle in later in that game. He finished with 3 total touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll talk a little bit about this air, the air game that you guys are having, the pass game success maybe on the road. But going into that game, going into the Dixon County game, Gallatin had 4 total touchdowns on the ground, 4 rushing touchdowns on the season, and you had 4 against Dixon County. Just was there an emphasis to maybe run a little bit more and get a little bit more success on the ground in the end zone in this game?
No. I mean, I think the emphasis is just score how you can score. Sometimes I get I told the running backs coach the other day. I said, we're down on the 1 yard line. I want to punch it in. If he can't punch it in from the 1 yard line, then, we've got to find another way to score. So, it's just getting behind your shoulder pads and lowering your center of gravity and making a hole somewhere. We don't need to get down there on the 1 yard line and try to dive over and jump in the air like we're Walter Payton. We just need to, pin our ears back and get dirty right there. So, no, I don't think there's any one way you can focus in and say, hey, we want to score like this or score like that. I think it's just in the moment, how do we get in the end zone? So,
does it add another wrinkle maybe into another team's scouting report of you when they see you have that many rushing touchdowns? Maybe through the first couple of weeks, they could look at the box score and say, well, this team likes to pass a lot. But then they look at the Dixon County game and see, well, this team can run the ball too and get it in the end zone.
Well, I think we can. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you want to be balanced, and I think we're pretty well balanced. I think Zakan's probably in 4 games, he's had 3 100-yard games. So, I mean, it's nothing to kind of shrug your shoulders at and say we've had struggles. But I just think when you've had, I don't think we've had success in the air as much as we need to have. So I don't kind of view it that way. I just, we can still get a whole lot better, and we need to get a whole lot better. But when you add the dimension of the running game to the passing game, or vice versa, then it makes you, they got to pick their poison on what they want to stop. But again, we've got to be ready for that and be ready to exploit whatever they try to deploy against us.
When we talk about the passing game a little bit, each week it's like we're adding in a new wide receiver that we haven't mentioned yet. And for this game, our Gallatin News Player of the Week, Jay Ellis, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 79-yard touchdown reception on top of that. You just said that maybe you guys haven't had as much success through the air as you'd like, but whenever you can get a guy like that who hasn't jumped out on the box score yet to produce like that, what kind of benefit is that for you guys?
I mean, it's good. It's good to get people to the party, and the more receivers you can have catching the ball, the more options you have. And that's kind of like, I mean, that's my philosophy on option football now. I was brought up, and my dad was a wishbone coach. He ran the wishbone option and the cross series and the crisscross and all that. You you want to make it appear this back's getting the ball and where this back's got the ball. But in the offense we run, we want the same philosophy, but we want everybody touching the ball. So the first thing I look at is, do we have all 5 eligible bodies catching the ball or touching the ball, whether it be a run or a catch or whatever, and that's distribution. And to me, option football just isn't a quarterback and a fullback dive and keep. It's you got the pitch you got to worry about and all this other stuff. So it's just a modern day version of the option game to me. So when you got guys like Jay Ellis who's probably been a little quiet in the stat figure and he has a big game, I think Jay can have a bigger game if he doesn't drop that one pass on the sideline there late in the game where he's just wide open as all get out. Then he probably has close to 200 yards receiving. So we've got to get more consistent in catching the ball. We've got 16 drops on the year. That's not a stat you're going to see anywhere, but we keep up with it, and we've got to be more consistent at receiver and catching those balls and making plays for us.
Can you kind of run me through the similarities maybe of a wishbone offense where you want as much production and illusion on the ground as possible to your form of it through the air, where you just mentioned dropped passes as a statistic that you have in your offense? Right.
So, the good thing about that is it's just an incompletion. In option football, if you pitch it and they don't catch it, then it's a fumble, and then you've got you got a race to get it on the ground. But in the RPO world of football, it's a run pass option. So the quarterback has the option to either hand it off, run it himself, or he can throw it to an open receiver. All right, and so that's the option of it. That's the whereas in the wishbone or flexbone or whatever type of option you're running, whether it's slide eye or whatever, the quarterback may come up there and he's got he's reading a 3 technique or he's reading the defensive end. If he squeezes, he's not going to give the dive. He's going to pull it and he's going to go out there and read the second guy out on the edge, and now it's going to be not do a pitch it or keep it there. So it's the same philosophy. It's just a little bit different distribution.
Looking at it in that distribution aspect, through the first 4 games, you've had 4 different receivers leading your team in receiving yards. And I hate to put you on the spot here a little bit, but based on your previous stops, maybe at Scotts Hill and USJ, where does this receiver group kind of rank across your tenures?
Well, they're still young in their development. Now if they've had a little bit more time to understand how to get open and where to fit up, then they're pretty good as far as that, as far as catching the ball. But there's a lot of things that you got to learn. I don't know if they're the best yet that I've had, but they can make plays in a heartbeat. So we've got one thing we have is we got guys that can catch the ball and break it for a long one if they can get their hands on it. Whereas in the past, you've had 1 or 2 receivers that can do that, but I feel like we've got 3, 4, maybe 5 receivers that can do that for us.
One more, and then we'll hit the break here on the Green Wave Coaches Show. You've had some players through the first 4 games, Coach, that have stood out week by week. So Kai and Brinkley consistently having standout performances. On defense, guys like Kamari Watkins now with 2 defensive touchdowns, and we'll get to him in a moment. And even Jackson, having consistent passing numbers game by game. At this point of the season, when you hit this middle of the year stretch, does the offense start making sense to these guys? I think you've said in the past that it might take a year for everybody to fully understand this offense, but are things making more sense now to your players as opposed to the summer?
Well, we had a conversation about it yesterday, and offensive football is a little bit different from the defensive side, where defensively you've got to make adjustments every week, and offensively we try to make their defense adjust to us. So we're repeatedly doing the same things. offensive line wise, they're doing the same things week in, week out, and we're just trying to perfect those assignments and those techniques and fundamentals. But the kids are, they're learning. It's just little things like, if I'm running that inside route, I've got to force the defender outside, then go inside, and vice versa. If I'm going inside, if I'm going outside, I want to push him inside. So it's little things like that, that they've got to learn. But it's a whole lot better than where it was, that from that standpoint. So the kids are evolving.
Well, I know that I joked at the beginning here that I'm an offensive guy, but some of this stuff is even confusing me. So kudos to these receivers and these players for kind of getting into the flow of this offense. We're going to take one quick break here on the Green Wave Coaches Show, and when we come back, preview return to region play for Gallatin football. Stay tuned.
As an Allstate agent in Gallatin, Larry Maynard knows many local families. His knowledge and understanding of the people in this community helps him provide customers with outstanding service. Give Larry a call at 615-452-1500.
Football season is grilling season. The Big Green Egg is the perfect grill for everyone. From the backyard cook to the world's most acclaimed chefs. Stop at Tennessee Ace Hardware today and check out our large selection of Big Green Egg grills. It's the perfect grill for any grilling need. Dairy Berry's Heat and Air has been proudly serving the Middle Tennessee area for over 35 years. We have been voted Sumner County's best heat and air company for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, call Dairy Berries at 615-452-8121.
Macon Bank and Trust Company is a proud supporter of the Gallatin Green Wave. For over 100 years, Macon Bank and Trust has offered a true hometown banking experience to help you meet your financial goal. We are local people with local decision-making and ready to serve you.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good. I thought it was good.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal. It was no big deal.
Hey, I can hold my liquor.
I thought I could hold my liquor.
The Green Wave Coaches Show is brought to you by our 4 fantastic sponsors here in Gallatin, by the Gallatin News and Main Street Media of Tennessee, Main Street Media Television. Blaine, Kellar, Michael Stroup here on the Green Wave Coaches Show. And we've recapped the 48-14 win at Dixon County, Coach. Looking forward to this week's road region test at Warren County. How do you like the preparation of this team so far?
We had a really good day yesterday. Kids came out, and it was an early day for us. So we had a JV game last night, so we got out there as quick as we could. But we had a really good session. And had a good day, and hope to build on it today.
This is a Pioneers team that has lost 3 straight games. They sit at 1-3 on the season, and it'll be a little bit of a trek to get down there in southern middle Tennessee. Warren County coming off a 53-13 loss to Mount Juliet, and I guess my biggest question about this would be: has there been any conversation of not looking ahead to the week afterward to Green Hill, a huge region test? With the Hawks being one of the Mid-State's finest teams so far this year. Has there been any conversations of focusing on Friday?
You talking about with Warren County?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we've talked about. I didn't know who we played until just now, that next week, until you just said that. So, yeah. I mean, listen, they're a good football team, and they're hungry for success down there, and you can't. We can't focus on outcomes. We can't look down the road. We're not good enough to do that. I've told the team that. I've told coaches that. We're not good enough to look into a crystal ball and look past anybody. We've got to focus on dominating our opponent and who we play that week, and being the best we can be on that one play and that one rep, and just get better, and we're totally focused on Warren County and respect them as a program and as a coaching staff. I see a team that they came out and gave Mount Juliet a run for their money the first the first quarter, and forced them into turnovers and played really well on defense. So, we'll have our hands full for sure.
Defensively, Gallatin allowed 43 points per game through its first 2 contests, and that number's down to 23 across the last 2. And like I said, we would jump into that defensive side of the ball a little bit here. Coach, what's the biggest adjustment or the most growth that you've seen from that defensive unit across the last 2 games?
Well, I think for the most part we've trimmed it down and playing a lot of base and maybe having 1 or 2 adjustments out of formations and personnel alignments. So, it's again you gotta play defensive football. You gotta react. You can't sit there and you can't think and you can't say I gotta check to this and check to that and have a bunch of different things going on in your mind. The kids just got to line up and go play football and attack the football. If you got 11 screaming individuals getting to the football, good things are going to happen. And for defense, so that's what we've tried. That's what we've tried to focus on as a coaching staff the past couple of weeks, and it worked out for us last week.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but what it sounds like you're saying is you've just simplified things. Where things maybe a little too much to start the year against Hendersonville and Station Camp, or how did you kind of boil things down to where your players could buy in and really produce the way they have?
I think that any coach, they have confidence in their kids, and you got to understand now when we're out here at practice, we're with them. And so we're out there with them making checks and doing all that. But on Friday nights, we're not out there with them. So, and then when they're out there and, maybe they can't do it on their own and we're not out there to hold their hand, then that can be an issue. But yeah, we've scaled back some and just tried to, simplify some things for them and just let them play football.
Against Dixon County, as I mentioned, Kamari Watkins had a touchdown on the defensive side. Legarius Humphrey, had an interception. And as I said, that's Kamari's second defensive touchdown of the year after a fumble recovery against Hendersonville. Have you noticed some of these guys maybe just have a nose for the ball?
Well, in that situation, yeah, Kamari picked one up against Hendersonville, and then Aaron Baxter ran into one with his head on the punt, and then Kamari was able to pick that up and go in. But he's been fortunate of those 2 things, and but we still got things we've got to improve on. We got to get physical, and I've always been one to hang my hat on being physical, and there's some guys like Kamari that could get a little tougher, and he's a good football player, all right. But but we've got to be able to, we got to be able to give somebody a good jolt and rock them back a little bit and get after it, and that's a collective thing. That's just not one kid. That's a collective.
Gallatin has 4 straight region games coming up, starting with Friday's road tilt at Warren County. And Coach, I know that you said earlier that you didn't even know who you were playing after this week until a couple minutes ago. But with this stretch, postseason aspirations or any aspirations you have with this first-year team could be made or broken in that kind of stretch. So I want to know what the next step of progression you want to see from this team is as these games start to matter.
I just want our kids to play hard. And execute and not have as many mental mistakes as we do. So we just got to come out and prepare. And I tell the kids and I tell the coaches, we're winning games Monday through Thursday. We're not winning them on Friday. So it's our preparation and our level of competitiveness in practice and always compete to get reps, compete against your teammates, put them in competitive situations. And sometimes as coaches we tend to forget that but we want to be able to make practice as hard as games. And and that may look different to some people, right? Some people come back to the old adage of, well, let's just go out here and do Oklahoma for 3 hours and do all that. Well, that's not really smart football. So I'm more or less putting our kids in situations where they have to, they have to use their head a little bit and put them in disadvantaged situations. Whether it be offensively, we're trying to get a first down, or defensively, we just want to compete. Compete in drills and when we go team sessions. So, it's again, it's you want to dominate your opponent, and you want to dominate it one play at a time, not the whole game, but just one play.
Gallatin has been winning games Monday through Thursday, as Coach Stroup said. They won this Friday, and they hope that this coming Friday they make it 2 in a row. One more break here on the Green Wave Coaches Show, and we'll give you one fun question with Coach Michael Stroup.
Macon Bank and Trust Company is a proud supporter of the Gallatin Green Wave. For over 100 years, Macon Bank and Trust has offered a true hometown banking experience to help you meet your financial goal. We are local people with local decision-making and ready to serve you.
Derryberry's Heat and Air has been proudly serving the Middle Tennessee area for over 35 years. We have been voted Sumner County's best heat and air company for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, call Derryberry's at 615-452-8121. Football season is grilling season. The Big Green Egg is the perfect grill for everyone, from the backyard cook to the world's most acclaimed chefs. Stop at Tennessee Ace Hardware today and check out our large selection of Big Green Egg grills. It's the perfect grill for any grilling need.
As an Allstate agent in Gallatin, Larry Maynard knows many local families. His knowledge and understanding of the people in this community helps him provide customers with outstanding service. Give Larry a call at 615-452-1500.
Watch it! Did that guy even see that girl on her bike?
Just like looking for other cars before switching lanes, drivers should keep their eyes out for those traveling on bikes. When a crash occurs between a vehicle and a bike, it's the cyclist who is most likely to be injured. Give cyclists room and do not pass too closely. Riders have the same rights and responsibilities as those behind the wheel.
Be aware, be alert. Brought to you by THSO, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
One fun question here with Coach Michael Stroup. Blaine Kellar here with Gallatin's football coach. One thing I wanted to bring up about Jay Ellis, our Gallatin News Player of the Week coach, was that he was also a state championship track and field qualifier. Was in the 100-meter dash for the TSSAA state championships. He's one of many guys on your team that plays multiple sports. Of course, Jackson Stroup, a member of the baseball team. Abe Goolsby, Riley Ridings, Marshall Hansen, Adrian Barksdale, Kamari Watkins. There are a few I'm missing here because I have them all abbreviated. So forgive me for my shorthand here. But what's your take on having multiple athletes not only play football, but play multiple sports? I'm going to kind of give you the floor here, put you on your soapbox, and let you take it away.
Well, I mean, I think it just helps them in their development overall as an athlete and as a person. And I'm for it. Like I'm for playing as many sports as you can play in high school, because you only get this once. And we have a number of kids that play multi sports. I'm a big proponent in the spring for everybody running track. Track is a speed development. It gets them out there, teaches them how to run. Basketball is quick, and you have to constantly slide side to side, and it's good for them in that way. Baseball, hand-eye coordination, but I'm for them playing year round. And the adage that athletes don't need to be in the weight room year round is kind of old thinking as well. I think Tiger Woods years ago kind of destroyed that mindset when he became pro, and he was in there lifting weights and everybody else was kind of just doing what golfers do, and then he's driving this golf ball to the moon. And I think that he changed the way professional golfers trained, if they even trained before that. So you got to be in the weight room year round to be a really good athlete, and you got to train. But I'm not on focusing on any one sport. Jackson his first love was baseball. He loves baseball. And so he grew up playing. He started playing baseball when I think he was probably 7, and he's always done it. And so but you put kids in different environments, and you put them in different situations under different coaches, and they just learn how to adjust, and it's good for them. It's just good for them development wise.
Well, great stuff from you there, Coach. And it's funny, that's the second time in, I guess, 4 weeks now that we've had a golf reference come up for
It's my dream job. It's my dream job.
Again, he's still searching for Sumner County coaching jobs in golf while still being the head coach of the Green Wave. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's Green Waves Coaches Show. Thank you to Main Street Media of Television and Tennessee for sponsoring this. Thank you to our great sponsors in Gallatin. We'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Green Wave Coaches Show with Gallatin football head coach Michael Stroup and Gallatin News sports editor Blaine Kellar. The Green Wave Coaches Show is brought to you by Tennessee Ace Hardware, the Larry Maynard Agency, Macon Bank and Trust, Derryberry's Heat and Air, and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.